Good morning, scholars and aspiring wonks, and everybody else who is joining us today. What an exciting day. I mean, yesterday we saw that Donald Trump's call to temporarily ban Muslims from entering the United States generated a flat out Republican Party brawl. Republican Party congressional and state leaders um, are basically going ballistic. House Speaker Paul Ryan and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell joined the GOP establishment's near universal condemnation of Trump's proposal. However, in Iowa and New Hampshire, the key early nominating states, Mr. Trump's backers are out in force, directly countering the party leadership's uh, arguments against him. And we're beginning to see now Trump's numbers not quite hit 30% in Iowa, but boy, he's at 28, 29 and increasing his lead over Ted Cruz to double digits, 9 to 11%. So we're really witnessing for the first time a party's front runner that the party hates. So under 2 months now until that Iowa caucus in February, this is getting exciting. So whether the Republican leadership is unhappy or not with Trump's calls to temporarily ban Muslims from coming into the country, one thing is for sure that the House voted yesterday to restrict travel by foreigners who have visited Iraq and Syria. So we're seeing some legislative movement here to tighten security restrictions on travel into this country. The House overwhelmingly approved legislation Tuesday to limit certain travel privileges, which are granted to citizens of 38 friendly countries. This legislation would put some basic restrictions on the visa waiver program that, see, we allow travelers from 38, they're mostly European, Asian nations, to enter the United States without obtaining a visa. And this legislation would ban people from those nations who had traveled to places like Iraq or Syria since March of 2011 from entering without first getting a visa. And I again stress the lady who engaged in a terrorist attack, she obtained a visa. So it isn't necessarily the act of attaining a visa which should tighten security. It should be the security check of the visa itself which should be heightened and made a little bit more secure. I think. I think that's a general principle that they should be looking at. Meanwhile, while this is going on, Iran test fired another missile. Now, this one didn't leave Iranian airspace, but it was the second missile, ballistic missile launch since the foreign nuclear agreement with the world powers was reached this summer. Look, U.S. officials said Tuesday that they can confirm that on November 21st, the Iranians launched and tested this missile. And we now know that the first missile that they tested back in October would have been capable of carrying or being equipped to carry a nuclear warhead. And both of these are violations in regard to the deal that they've signed, that they're not supposed to be testing any missiles until the deal goes into effect. So there's that situation, but meanwhile, what is the United States doing? It says it's backing a resolution to formally close an investigation by the UN Nuclear Watchdog Committee into investigating whether Iran had secretly developed technologies for atomic weapons. So that piece of the pre-deal investigation work is being closed, which would be a key step toward lifting sanctions against Iran. But meanwhile, Iran is in violation of the agreement, testing missiles. And it looks like maybe the United States is going to turn that over to the Feckless Security Council to investigate that. So these are interesting developments, but not what we're focused on today. Today, I want to focus on the Supreme Court, which is hearing the case of Fisher versus University of Texas, oral arguments. So what's going on in this case? It could be that the decision in this case could make it unconstitutional for public universities and colleges to take race into account in any way when choosing their entering classes. And even if it falls short of that, it could at least bar those institutions from considering minority students' educational talents or lack thereof as an admissions factor. We've studied Bakke and the cases that followed Bakke, and we know that while race can't be set up as a quota system, it can be a factor in regard to admissions policies. It can be one of many factors. But the core issue is whether the university used race in an unconstitutional way here in picking the freshman class of 2008 and keeping Miss Fisher out of that class. Fisher believes she was excluded solely because she is white, based on what she viewed as a flawed race-based admission policy. Meanwhile, the university insists her scores were simply not high enough, and she was not eligible for an automatic place in the class, regardless of what her race was. So the Supreme Court's hearing these arguments, and we'll see if there's any adjustments or even a flat-out overturning of Bakke. So we'll see. Meanwhile, President Obama delivers remarks this morning at the U.S. Capitol at a ceremony to commemorate the 150th anniversary of the ratification of the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution. Vice President Joe Biden hosts a Hanukkah reception at 7:35 p.m., similar to what I'll be doing around 7:35 p.m., lighting my menorah. And the Senate resumes consideration of the Every Child Achieves Act, which, if it passes, which it almost certainly is going to, will overturn many aspects of the No Child Left Behind Act, ultimately providing more local control over education, various sources of funding, and it will focus less on standardized tests, which we'll see how that impacts things that happen in the classroom. All right, everybody, that's your morning political roundup. It's time to wake up, time to rise and shine, have a cup of coffee, maybe a donut. Today's a donut day. It's not a bagel day. It's a donut day. So it's Hanukkah. It's a joyous festival time. So, all right. Thank you very much. We'll see you Falcons soon. Go Scholars. No, go Falcons. See you Scholars soon. All right.